Hello, my APUS history friends. This is your first review video of the year. We're going to go through what we did the first 2 weeks in class. Usually we do one a week, but the first week was pretty light, so saving it for now. As a reminder, we do have a test a week from today. It'll be your first official test, real grade and everything. It's about 20 multiple choice questions and a short answer question. You'll get to choose from two, as well as potential extra credit questions that we discussed in class. So let's get to a little bit of review of what we did. Essentially, you need to be able to answer certain questions or topics. One of them is why Europeans settle in the New World in the first place. Religious freedom, for sure, especially for the English and the Anglican Church. The search for gold, land, new opportunities. In terms of the Spanish, converting to Catholicism is a big deal. It's a big mission, which is why, they're called missions to convert people. Coming to the New World mostly for those reasons, as well as trade for the French and Dutch. This goes along with how the Europeans then interact with the Native Americans. England very much wants land, so they are going to fight off the Native Americans. Smallpox does obviously a big number on that, and take over their land. This leads to violent interactions between the English and the natives. A specific piece of evidence for this that I would use is King Philip's War. Again, a lot of us in our short answer questions are not being specific enough with our ID terms. So, perfect example of specific, right? The English interact with the Native Americans in a violent way due to their desire for land. The Native Americans resist this change through King Philip's War and other violent interactions. That's specific evidence, right? You look at the other groups, the French and the Dutch are fairly easy. They just want to trade, so they don't have a lot of violent interactions, formally. And then the Spanish want to convert the natives. That is probably their biggest goal. So that's a big culture change. So Native Americans are going to resist this culture change, this conversion, through the use of the encomienda system, to Catholicism, Christianity, through the Pueblo Revolt. So again, specific evidence. The Spanish wanted to convert the natives wanted to resist this cultural change. This can be seen in the Pueblo Revolt. That would be specific evidence. So, definitely important concepts, why the Europeans are here in the first place, the different goals of the Europeans, how they treated the natives, and then how they resisted. Effects of the Enlightenment also come into play big time. We talked about rationalism. And this idea that, there's a change in thinking going on in the time period from a more religious-based thinking mindset to a scientific-based mindset. Again, this is called the Enlightenment. It's going to change how people think about government, which is really the important part for us, right? Really, should King George III or any of the King Georges from England previously, one or two, be ruling us, right? Do we question authority? Yeah, we do now. That's really the idea. Why are certain people ruling? What gives them the right to do so? It's eventually going to springboard into democracy. What makes the most sense? Well, logically, ask all the people who should be their leader, right? That makes sense. It's also an Enlightenment product. But for us, for specific pieces of evidence for Enlightenment influence, we look at Anne Hutchinson from Massachusetts, who is going to rebel against the Puritan church. Essentially saying women deserve more rights in the church, deserve to be leaders, deserve to have decisions run through them, similar to how the Native Americans do it. Actually, we looked at a little bit of the slide of how natives treat women versus how English common law treats women. So Anne Hutchinson rebels. She's an example of Enlightenment thinking and questioning authority. That's her big thing. Another example of Enlightenment thinking and questioning authority is Nathaniel Bacon. Bacon leads Bacon's Rebellion in Virginia. Essentially, the governor of Virginia is, in the indentured servant / white colonists' opinion, placating the Native Americans, taking advantage of, different trade opportunities with them that aren't available to the other white colonists, specifically the indentured servants. So Bacon leads an uprising. He's also a rich guy, by the way, but he gets the indentured servants together and leads an uprising against the Governor Berkeley of Virginia. This shows that indentured servitude is simply not going to work. Even though Bacon's rebellion fails, quote unquote, because Bacon dies, indentured servitude is proven to not be an effective means of labor. mostly for the lack of opportunity and then their likelihood of rebelling. So we really shift away from indentured servitude. The other big part about Nathaniel Bacon is it does show the class divisions that are existent already. The wealthy usually put into power directly from England governors and leadership versus indentured servitudes and poor farmers in the backwoods of Virginia there. Shows class divisions. So both those things, an end of indentured servitude and class divisions, big out of those. But Hutchinson and Bacon, two great examples of Enlightenment thinking and influence. Because of the Enlightenment and this change in mindset, we have the Great Awakening. Again, we mentioned this in class. When we have a major shift in thought or a major shift in how life works in APUS, we'll see this in further examples, there's always a resurgence of church going and faith in God. Since the Enlightenment is such a big change, much more thinking logically, scientifically, there is a response that goes back to churches. You get Enlightenment documents like the Second Treatise of Government, calculus with Newton. You get it with a whole bunch of different ones, right? Blanking on the other one. Oh, Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith, Capitalism, right? That's going to be a big change in how people think, so people go back to God. The big example of this is George Whitefield, who's going to give speeches up and down the colonies, these fire and brimstone-y speeches about how, this change in mindset and this change in thinking is damning the people and such, right? That's a reaction to the Enlightenment. There is no Great Awakening without the Enlightenment because they go hand in hand. It's causation. The Enlightenment then causes the Great Awakening, right? That's really the important part to know. Last couple important things, the geography of the colonies and how that impacts their economies. New England got a lot of waterways. Easy for them to trade and build cities around. They don't have a ton of agriculture, so they have lower rates of slavery. They just don't need them. Slavery is an economic issue at this point and will be until basically the Civil War. So I don't mean to lower that in any standing, but in AP, that's what we're talking about here, as slavery is an economic and geography cause. Anyways, right, New England, big into shipbuilding. They're going to be big in the Columbian Exchange as well, essentially getting the cash crops from the South and then shipping them out through New England or making them into textiles, making them into something that can actually be used and then shipped out. So they're big in the Columbian Exchange and triangular trade. Mid-Atlantic is a blending of the North and the South. Like I had just mentioned, the South is heavy agriculture, which means they're labor-intensive, which means that they rely on slavery for their economy. Again, Native Americans are dead from smallpox. Indentured servants can no longer be trusted because of Bacon's rebellion, so the South goes to slavery as their means of labor. That's how they're involved in triangular trade. We've also talked about the major differences in the North and South and what that means. Right? The North is going to be much more population dense. And when you have that, you're going to have more issues that government can solve, making them more federalist when the time comes. There would be more lined up with the Democratic Party saying the Democratic Party today can fix issues. The South is much more spread out. Again, closest neighbor 20 miles kind of thing, all farmland. So you don't need government because mostly you're fixing problems for yourself, so they are going to end up being our anti-federalists. I'm sure there's a couple things I missed. There always is. There's always notes available and videos available for you. But these are like the major points I have written down that I would like for you to know. We're going to do a big old review on Monday. We're going to do a skill-based assessment with the SAQs. And then we are going to review for our test on Wednesday, test on Friday. Right? The test review is on Wednesday. The test is on Friday. Right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll see you all next week. Hopefully this video and these videos as a whole help you. This went a little longer than I wanted to because of just, random explanations, and this is 2 whole units. You can see my polo here. Go Pack Go, right? They're playing the Bears this weekend. Hopefully they win. So, see you all later. Have a great weekend. Make good decisions.